now, though, we've got race action with the Ducati TriOptions Cup. Boys are out on their warm-up lap, as you can see, so let's head over to our commentators for this one, Neil Mackenzie and Jack Bernicle.
And we were just mid-conversation about it's like old times here in the commentary box, except we're not in some sodden corner of eastern Germany. We're in a sodden corner of Cheshire. With Marty Nutt, the defending and reigning champion, on pole position for this 8-lap Ducati TriOptions Cup. They're being allowed 2 warm-up laps to have a look at the conditions. I've had a quick word with Scott Smart, though, when I caught him in the garage, and he was saying, Neil Mackenzie, that the grip levels are actually pretty good. He said the dodgy bit is down at Hizzy's chicane, coming out of there and into the right-hander at Knickerbrook.
Yeah, that was confirmed actually by my son Taylor Mackenzie on the Taiko Suzuki in the morning warm-up. He had one big moment, nearly high-siding himself, and it was exactly that corner, Jack. But watching the superbikes out there, every one of them got round in one piece, and I think the grip levels are generally high because temperature, ambient temperature and track temperature has been high here over the weekend, so when the tyres get warm they grip good, and that's a good sign. So hopefully we'll get some good safe racing with not too many incidents.
You can see the patchiness there of the entrance to the final corner. Scott was saying that you think to yourself, shall I aim for that satin shiny bit or that like rough, slightly grippier looking bit there, and it decides where you go on the track.
Yeah, and also you can see that it is drying out. It's drying quickly. Even in the last warm-up, there's some dry lines have been. These guys are on full wet tyres. They've got soft suspension settings. Some of them have changed their gearing a little bit to compensate for the lack of speed off the corners. The Pirelli tyres tend to go the distance. They're good hard compounds, so they'll go the distance, but they'll start becoming like chewing gum towards the end of the race, so the guys are going to be wriggling around a bit as the track dries out.
After 9 rounds of the Ducati TriOptions Cup, we've got Leon Morris, the former champion, in the lead after his victory yesterday by 28 points from Dennis Hobbs. Marty Nutt, reigning champion, in 3rd place, ahead of the luckless Rob Guyver, who suffered an engine expiration yesterday and unfortunately is not on the grid with us today. Sean Neary, who had a great ride onto the rostrum yesterday, is 5th overall ahead of Darren Fry, Jonathan Railton, Aaron Brown, Alistair Fagan and Dave Ferns. Behind them, Mark Cheetham in 11th place ahead of Dan Fowler, Sean Gilfallen, Ricky Holden, Nicky Wilson, Big Dave Heel, who was actually on the rostrum, the old rascal at the opening round at Brands Hatch, Ross Humphreys, Greg Gilfallen, Ollie Mann and George Houghton-Rusling. The starting grid is our second amendment of the starting grid has Marty Nutt on pole position alongside Sean Neary and Dennis Hobbs. Second row headed by yesterday's winner Leon Morris, and the man that Neil Mackenzie thinks is the dark horse in this race, Chris Northover, the superbike journalist and former superstock racer. Jonathan Railton's 848 is on the outside of row 2. He could do nicely in the damp conditions. Aaron Brown, Louis Dawson and Mark Cheetham are on row 3. Dan Fowler, another journo, Alistair Fagan and Nicky Wilson are on the 4th row. Altogether, 21 racers on the grid then for the Ducati TriOptions Cup. Race 2 of the weekend here at Oulton Park, and in rather different conditions. It's a little damp, beginning to dry. Some of the guys, especially those in Superbike who are kind of doing one-off rides, Scott Smart and Glenn Richards, have both told me they're far from race fit and they'd actually rather it rained a bit more now. Yeah,
it's a lot less physical when it's raining. You're not working as hard on the bike, so it's good for these old boys that are coming back, and indeed for everyone. It's a lot less physical here at Oulton Park when temperatures are down and the track is damp.
There's the 2 teammates, Dennis Hobbs and Leon Morris, fighting for this championship. Hobbs desperately needs to beat Morris if he's to start clawing back some points. So 8 laps ahead of him. It's a bit of a sprint race, this, for the Ducati TriOptions Panigales. What can they do? Nutt, Neary, Hobbs on the front row. Everybody gets pretty level off the start line. Good one, though, for Marty Nutt. And the travel agent from Castle Rock in Northern Ireland tiptoes his way into the first turn at Old Hall Corner, and he grabs the advantage as they go down the hill through the avenue towards Cascades. Very appropriately named Cascades in this weather.
Yeah, just remember they've had a total of 2 laps wet practice here, so they're really limited, and then they're fully into the race and fully commitment for race conditions. So they really have to feel their way around. Tiptoeing is a great phrase, but they've got to go a little bit faster than that if they want to get a result.
Well, someone who has started a little bit quicker is Leon Morris. He's already stuffed the other lads on the front row and darted through to second place. So the number 2 of Leon Morris, the 2011 champ, well, he's perfectly placed now. He's already through to second place, ahead of his great rival Dennis Hobbs back in 4th. And that means that he's made absolutely the start that he wanted to make Dennis do all the work in what is a pretty short race.
Yeah, certainly. All of the field looking like they're safely around the first half of that. But Martin Ott, he's been coming on form, number 1 there at the front, the reigning champion, and in the dry and the wet, he's just been finding his form, getting that 899 Panigale to his liking, and he's a championship winner, as we know, and that's all about being consistent, coming home when you can and winning when you can as well. So Martin Ott really finding his confidence both in his riding and in his bike, and doing a great job at the front.
Not number 1 leads the way. Second is number 2, Morris. In third place, your own danger man, Neil. Neil Mackenzie's prediction pre-race was that the lovely, happy-go-lucky Chris Northover would be appearing on our screens, and there he is in third place in the bright yellow and red helmet. The young man who was a front runner in the Triumph Triple and the Super Stock 600 classes in the past. Now a fully fledged journalist and a very talented one, as well as a talented all-round rider with Superbike magazine. He's running in third place, ahead of Dennis Hobbs and Sean Neary in 5th. Aaron Brown, Mark Cheatham, Alistair Fagan in 8th, ahead of Louis Dawson and Darren Fry.
Yeah, and the great thing about Chris Northover, he says he's living the dream, being, as you said, the journalist at Superbike, riding all kinds of different bikes. And when he comes to do this, he's on the Ducati Coventry press bike in the TriOptions Cup here. He says, it's like being a factory rider for a weekend. You come along and the guys look after your bike and you just go and race it. So he hasn't ruled out coming back full-time to racing or full-time to a championship, but at the moment he's just enjoying his guest appearances. But he's a talented young lad, and he's got loads of time, and he brings a lot to TriOptions Cup. He's well liked, as you say, he's always smiling, and he's a big talent.
Very creative as well. I remember when he was trying to drum up some finances to aid his super stock racing career, he and his dad went on a Land's End to John O'Groats moped ride to raise funds, which I thought was very brave. Took several days through variable weather like this.
Yeah, great. And of course, this is a championship within a championship. There's some riders here on the 848 Ducatis as well. Mark Cheatham, he's the best 848 at the moment in 7th, and there's a bit of a shake-up there because normally Jonathan Railton, he's the best 848, but he's down in 11th, followed by Dave Ferns on the Amigo Racing. He's had some horsepower problems that he eradicated last night, so he's back on full power, 12th position at the moment. Dan Fowler on the other Boss plumbing machine, he's in 13th.
So it just goes to show how these iffy conditions change things around. I thought Jonathan Railton would be the likely lad, as we and yet it's Mark Cheatham who's way ahead in that category at the moment. And there's Darren Fry, all 49 years young of him. I mean, you should be back here doing this, Neil. You should be out there.
Yeah, certainly is. And him and Alistair Fagan, he's number 44 at the front of that bunch. I promised I wouldn't mention Hamburgers because he's not the smallest rider in the championship, but I've gone and done it again, Alistair. But Fagan is having a great ride. He's fast bikes journalist and committed for the whole of the season in the championship, really enjoying it. And he's impressed me because he's been every class pretty much in this paddock, but really enjoying riding his Panigale.
There's number 44, Fagan, right behind number 30, right with number 34, Louis Dawson. Louis Dawson getting the better of him as they dropped into the first turn. And just ahead of him is that man, Darren Fry, number 3, the 49-year-old who's got a couple of young kids, and he makes coffin interiors and wholesales them to the funeral trade. That's an entertaining day job. Number 3, Darren Fry.
Meanwhile, Dennis Hobbs, fastest lap of the race so far. He's in 3rd position, a win 151.139.
So he's moved past Chris Northover, so Hobbs beginning to threaten. Marty Nutt still leads the way. Marty Nutt, who had gone 10 years without winning a championship since being Irish 600 Supersport champ in 2003 when he won the title on the Ducati last year. And he's still in the lead here. Dennis Hobbs, 3rd man in the picture there, could become the danger man. He's just set the fastest lap on a drying track, 151.13.
And these lap times will continue to fall. You can see there's a dry line appearing. The tyres are still working perfectly well. When a dry line appears all the way around, you'll see the riders getting off that line onto the wet parts on the straight just to keep the tyres cool, just to keep a bit of life in the tyres. But the moment things are drying out, and the lap times will fall.
Look at them, they're chattering their way into Druids. It's quite a ripply surface on the entrance to that right-hander, Neil.
It is, but it's less ripply than it used to be. It's been resurfaced there. It's also been resurfaced at Shell Oil's hairpin, and it's made a big difference. But there's a lot of pressure on the front end of the bike coming around there, even in the wet. The tyres are trying hard to find grip. As I said, it was drying out a little bit, so get a little bit bubbly and give the riders a few problems.
Marty Nutt leads then, just approaching half distance in the second Ducati TriOptions Cup of the weekend. This is the battle between the two men on the Carl Cox Motorsport P&H Motorcycles Ducatis. The little guy from Stockbridge, just alongside Thruxton Race Circuit in Hampshire, and then Big Dennis from my home nether regions of the Cleveland Hills in North Yorkshire, just Gisborough, the old ancient capital of Cleveland, before he shoved off to Scotland.
I wondered where you were going next. I thought you were going to say Kelty, because he's now on the bonny banks of the north, just north of the Forth. So Cleveland Hills are
from my homeland to yours.
I did get a B in O-level geography at school, so I was pretty sure that the Cleveland Hills weren't anywhere near Kelty. But this is a real battle. Marty Nutt at the front here, he's looking strong, but the real battle is for second position here. Leon Morris is leading the championship. Dennis Hobbs will be desperate to grab a few points. If Morris is second, he grabs 20. If Hobbs is third, he grabs 16. He wants to reverse that and take that points advantage.
You know, Marty Nutt, I'm almost surprised to realise, Neil, he's had 8 rostrums, but not a single race win yet this year. This could be the very moment he's been waiting for. He sets another fastest lap. He did reach second place in the first race on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Otherwise, it's been third and fourth places consistently right the way through.
Things are closing in at the back there. The orange and white bike of Neary, he's getting closer to Dennis Hobbs, and Chris Northover, he hasn't given up in 5th as well.
All these guys lapping very, very consistently in the low to mid 150s. In fact, Hobbs is only 0.004 of a second slower than Nutt on that lap, so he's hanging in there, clinging just onto the back wheel of Leon Morris. But he's got to do more than that. He's got to find a way through. Yeah, but looking at our monitor now, the lap times have settled down. They're going yellow through the sectors, but that means that they're not going any faster. They're not improving the time, so maybe they've reached the optimum grip from these tyres. You see that dry line is getting wider and wider, and when the wet tyres are on the dry track, the lap times are not going to get any faster. They're actually going to get slower. Storming across the line then to complete the 5th lap of 8. 3 laps to go for the race leader Marty Nutt, and the squabble for second place between Leon Morris and Dennis Hobbs. Chris Northover in 5th place, clinging on to Sean Neary, number 10, in 4th. And then Aaron Brown crosses the line pretty clear on his own, really, number 81, lying in 6th place ahead of the battle involving Darren Fry, Louis Dawson and Alistair Fagan, who've yet to appear and cross the line. They're thunder past us now. It's Darren Fry just from Louis Dawson and Alistair Fagan. And the smart riders will start riding a little bit differently now. What they need to do is get off the edge of the tyres, and that means having a bit slower corner speed, get the bike picked up, get it on the fat part of the tyre where there's more grip and more stability. If you keep using the edge of the tyre, it just tears it up. You get less and less grip, and then you get less grip off the corners, and then also when you're turning in on the brakes, the rear end tends to come round, so they really have to adjust their riding styles to get the best out of the tyres. These two guys very, very evenly matched. Big Dennis, who looks even bigger and burlier than ever, riding there in 3rd place. Little Leon Morris just ahead of him, but all the time calmly leading the way. Number 1 is Marty Nutt, the reigning champion. Behind him in 4th place, number 10, Sean Neary, is riding the mymate.co.uk Ducati. The operations executive from pretty close by, actually, Lymm in Cheshire. Very much the local man on this track. But he's coming under a bit of pressure now. It looks to me as if Chris Northover was just getting a little lively grip on the Ducati and getting a bit more used to it in these conditions. Yeah, it looks great, that green, white and red Ducati in 5th position. Now Martin Nutt, the gap on that last lap was 1.3 seconds. Let's see if that's got bigger or smaller as they come over the line this time. Sean Neary frightened me a bit there. He really dived into that final turn and pulled a couple of bike lengths on Chris Northover with that brave entrance. Yeah, he frightened me as well. He's a young rider, he doesn't care, and that's what they tend to do. And just when I say the lap times can't get any quicker, Marty Nutt at the front increases his fastest lap of the race, and also his gap to 1.7 seconds. Watching Aaron Brown go through. Darren Fry, Louis Dawson, Alistair Fagan will be next up. Dave Ferns has dropped to 12th place on bike number 7 and is now enmeshed in an 8-4-8 battle with Jonathan Railton, Dan Fowler and Oliver Mann. They're all glued together. Meanwhile, at the front, still glued together, but it's beginning to look as if Dennis the Menace is not going to be able to mount a real challenge on Leon Morris for second place, unless he does something very drastic in the final 2 laps, Neil.
Dennis has been known to do drastic stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. He had a drastic last lap of the second race at Brands Hatch last time out, so let's hope he's not too brave, but visually you can see he's closer. And I've been looking at Leon Morris's bike, not quite as stable as Dennis is, so Dennis maybe has something left in the tank.
Suddenly, just to prove me completely wrong, Hobbs is almost getting alongside as they drop down the hill. Outbreak him. Oh, and Mayor Morris can't make the turn. He goes straight on it. He slithers through, has to weave his way through the artificial chicane, glance over his shoulder, and will need to rejoin behind. In fact, he loses 2 places because there goes Northover, there goes Neary. He's now back to 5th place. That could be a very critical point in this championship, because suddenly that little guy has been stung back to 5th place, and Dennis Hobbs is now on to a potential 20 points in second.
3 places he lost there, and you see that breaking into his chicane. Dennis is going for the move on the brakes. He squeezes him a little bit. Leon's a little bit close to white line. Of course, he can't pull on the brakes anymore. He certainly can't get on that white line or he'll lose the front. So a little bit of a racing incident, but Leon Morris was the big loser. Teammates, that'll be interesting. Pit garage when they go back there for a debrief.
Conversation afterwards. Dennis Hobbs now in second place. Chris Northover is under attack now from Leon Morris, the championship leader, as they go into the final lap. He's running in 4th place. Fastest lap for Dennis Hobbs. He dives under the 150s for the first time, and suddenly he's in a position to launch a last lap assault for the race win as Morris tries to rescue 4th place.
And look at Leon Morris now. It's really damage limitation. Dennis has a look behind him there, see if he's under threat from his teammate, but Leon Morris back in 5th, but he's trying so hard to get by Chris Northover. Let's hope that everything stays safe for the last lap. He's lost ground to him. Leon Morris pushing so hard, but he's stuck back there in 5th. Meanwhile, Dennis has lost the toe to...
But I think Hobbs has looked confidently over his shoulder and now seems to think he can probably do something about it in the last half lap. He's checked that there's no one behind him. Is he now thinking, OK, now I can gun for the race leader in this final half lap? He's cutting the gap now. So Hobbs is on the charge.
He really is. Martinot's his best mate as well, so you would like to think he's not going to do anything dodgy there, but he's certainly close enough. You can see him using every inch of the track as they tip into his from the last time.
And Chris Northover carves his way through back into 3rd place and a potential rostrum finish. He's got Sean Neary now behind him, and right there in 5th place, Leon Morris. As they go up the hill, we've got 2 battles going on now, one for that final rostrum place and one for the lead. Dennis trying to get up on Marty Nutt. Marty, wily old character, 37 years young now. He'll be looking to defend this lead. Hobbs is going to have to work awfully hard along the straight here to try and grab an outbreaking opportunity. I don't think he's going to be too far back as he drops down. Oh, I don't know, though. He's thinking about it. He's looking at a line that might give him the drive out of the turn. Northover, Neary. It looks as if they're going to fend off Leon Morris. Marty Nutt takes his first win of the season. Marty Nutt wins it ahead of Dennis Hobbs, who's chuffed with that second place, and it looks as if Northover and Neary did eclipse Leon Morris. So Leon Morris then in 5th place, just 11 points for that against 20 points for Dennis Hobbs. That, of course, even by my O-level maths, means a 9-point advantage for Hobbs. He needed that. It drops the advantage at the top of the table back down to 19. So that one overtaking manoeuvre did it.
Yeah, we reshuffled things, and Leon Morris is a little guy, but he'll be an angry little guy now for sure. There was a racing incident. I mean, that is a classic passing manoeuvre, and I've seen that happen so many times at his chicane, but unfortunately Leon lost out big time there.
Marty Nutt, Ducati Coventry JHP Racing, Ducati 899. He is the winner then. His first victory of the year. Keeps himself in contention for the championship here at Oulton Park. The result of the second race of the weekend here at Oulton Park in the Ducati TriOptions Cup. Marty Nutt wins it for the Ducati Coventry JHP team ahead of Dennis Hobbs on the Carl Cox Motorsport P&H motorcycles. Chris Northover, riding Superbike Ducati UK, grabs that final rostrum place as a wild card ahead of Sean Neary on the mymate.co.uk bike. And Leon Morris, teammate to Dennis Hobbs, in 5th place. 6th for Aaron Brown ahead of Alistair Fagan, Darren Fry, Louis Dawson and Ross Humphreys. The rest of the point scorers, the 848 led home eventually by the fastest man, wet or dry, it turns out. Jonathan Railton just grabs it from Dan Fowler in a race to the line. Ricky Holden 13th, Oliver Mann 14th, and the final point scoring position goes to Bristol's Chris Richardson on his silly racing Ducati. The championship standings then look rather like this as the Ducati is revving alongside us here at the end of pit lane. Leon Morris still wins, but by a reduced margin. Still leads, rather, but by a reduced margin, 21 points over Dennis Hobbs in second place. Marty Nutt still there, hovering in third place after that race win. Sean Neary moves into three figures in fourth. Rob Guyver, unlucky not to be riding today, drops to fifth place. Darren Fry, sixth overall, ahead of Jonathan Railton, the leading 848. And then Aaron Brown, Alistair Fagan and Dave Ferns rounding out that top 10. Mark Cheetham in 11th place ahead of Dan Fowler and Ricky Holden. Ross Humphreys and the rest down to Oliver Mann in 20th place.
What a race that was, and what a result as well for Chris North over on the VIP bike there. Chris, talk about it. Tell us how it happened.
After the whole weekend, everyone's been pressuring me, saying, come on, you got to get a pot back, you got to get a pot. And all weekend I've been playing it down because, you know, these boys are so quick. And then when the rain came, I thought, oh, there's a chance now. It slipped away from me on the first few laps, but I kind of tried to calm down. It's not easy for me. I managed to claw my way back, so absolutely amazing. Thanks so much to Ducati, to all my team who helped me out, and to Superbike Magazine for getting me here.
You're going to enjoy tonight?
I'm going to have a few beers.
Bragging rights in the office, I think, as well. Well done, Chris.
Thanks very much.
Top man, second place, and what an important result that was for the championship as well. Dennis Hobbs. Dennis, tell us about that one and the move as well there on Leon at the end.
Yeah, towards the end of the race, I was starting to get into a rhythm, past Chris back, and just felt I probably had more pace than Leon. Coming down, got a good drive out of Britain's, I think it is, over the top, and I was out braking Leon, and I left him plenty of room, but he was still trying to move across. I felt a little bit of a touch, but nothing major, and I just kept obviously concentrating on my race, trying to claw Marty into the back. I saw him a few sneaky looks, but I knew I wasn't going to get him, so coming on the run towards Lodge, just stuck to the race, and I just in case he was a bit defensive. But no, mega 2 seconds.